Now, just last week, we were in a church in a tent at Glastonbury. There's a Christian presence for the next fortnight at Wimbledon. And there's also a rather unusual church presence at Dovercourt Market. We're going to have a chat now with the Revd Kirsty Emerson, pioneer team vicar in the Harwich team ministry, who is responsible for taking the church to the market. Good morning to you, Kirsty.
Morning, Jim.
Thank you for joining us on BBC Essex this morning. So tell us all about the church in the market.
Thank you for having us on. I have to say that I'm not solely responsible for this. It's very much so here in Harwich a team ministry, and nothing I can do without the wonderful PCC behind me, all our lovely volunteers at church, and they've been incredibly supportive. So it came about just from a webinar last year. I'm sure we've all sat on some webinars and sort of wondered what we're doing there, but this one was not like that. This was a webinar where it really was really good. It was about outside worship and just having a presence outside, and it's based on a book, God's Tent Pitched Among Us, by Benjamin Carter. I had this webinar and I just had this strong sort of sense that we needed to have a tent outside somewhere in our parish up here in the Harwich Peninsula. So I prayed on it, thought about it, dwelt on it quite a bit. And I've only been here since March last year. So I knew there was a street market. I knew you had Dovercourt street market. And I've worked closely with some of the guys from that street market, but it didn't become obvious until after Christmas, when I really felt that we needed to have a presence on the market. It was helped then by somebody got wind of this. They sort of heard us talking about it, and they said there's obviously a financial implication. And they said, well, Kirsty, if it does go ahead, we will pay for the main tent, for the main gazebo, which was a really wonderful donation. So by the time it then went to PCC, that had been donated, and the PCC were fully supportive in funding tea and coffee and biscuits and refreshments, and sort of a little bit of sort of a basic play space for children. They could decorate biscuits, they could do some colouring, and adults can stand and have a cup of tea. And we ended up starting just in the middle of February, so still when it was a bit chilly. But we've been going since the middle of February, most weeks. There's only been a few weeks when we haven't been there, so just about 4.5 months now, and it's going really well.
And why did you choose the market? Because as you said, you wanted to take a church outside, you wanted the tent, you wanted the presence, but why did you settle on the market?
Yeah, people are there. It's where people are at, and it's really important to be where people are at. You know, we want to reach people. It's no good being somewhere that there aren't any people. So Dovercourt Street Market is a wonderful little market. It's small in size, but it packs a mighty punch. There's lots of lovely stalls there. There's lots going on, and there's a really nice hustle and bustle about it. People are there, so that's why we needed to be there.
How often are you there?
Weekly, so it's a weekly market. It's a Friday mornings. So the dedicated team on the market they're setting up from something like about 6:30 in the morning. I'm sure they'll tell me on Friday they're there even earlier. I normally get there about sort of 8 o'clock, all set up, ready to go by 9 o'clock, and then we're packing away. Roughly around about 1 o'clock. So that whole Friday morning market we're there for.
And what kind of response have you had?
Overwhelmingly positive. There's been the odd negative sort of comment, but it's such a rarity that it's not worth focusing on. It's predominantly just been really positive. People have asked why, and we've said it's because there's people here. It's about having a presence there. It's just about bringing God to where people are at, having a presence of fellowship, and just offering refreshment. And people are really positive with that. The market community have been incredibly welcoming, so helpful. I've never put up a market stall before. I didn't know what I was doing. And they were just really lovely. They've helped me out. They've lots of silly little techniques that you don't know about until you go to do it. They've been really supportive and just lovely.
What's the top tip you've been given for turning your church into a market?
Oh, top tip.
Are you given tips about getting people in? Do they encourage you, or are you just there as a presence for people to drop into as they pass by?
Yeah. So the market guys, having a church presence on the market is new for my fellow traders. So their top tips are brilliant. They're incredibly practical. So the market traders' tips are kind of when to put weights on to stop us blowing up the high street. Harwich is a little bit windy sometimes, and that's brilliant. The other stuff, in terms of just having that presence, it's learning it as we go along, really, and figuring out what works. Um, and it seems to be going well. People do like to come along. We obviously checked, that we wouldn't be bothering any other traders. There's also some sort of lovely cafes in the high street as well. We made sure that we weren't interfering with their trade. So some people have asked if we could do sort of filter coffee, and I've had to explain that I'm not a barista, that it is all just basic teas and coffees. But it's positive. Yeah.
So you've
Some
mentioned
people have asked for.
there's tea and coffee and stuff for the kids to do, but what else goes on in there?
Yeah, so it's a space for people to have a chat. So we have some good conversations. It is a time so that we can let people know what else we've got going on in church. Obviously, we could let people know about our church services, but we can also let them know about our messy churches that we have coming up. Messy churches happen in churches all over the country. They're for all ages. I'd encourage anybody to give them a look. They're also another way of doing church. Ours happens to be at Parkston Railway Club roughly every other month. Our next one's coming up on the 2nd of September. But if you go on a churches near you and find your local church, many of them will have their own messy church events going on. And also we've got our Alpha coming up. And again, that's something that plenty of churches run. Alpha being just an opportunity for people to find out about the Christian faith. You share a meal together, you watch a Christian recording, and then you have a chat about that recording, but you're free to agree, disagree with that recording. It's all wrapped up in a couple of hours, and we are able to hand out information about those kind of things and other things that we've got going on. So it is helpful for us to be able to do that, but also we are there to be people of prayer, and we can pray for people. And we just have a very small, simple prayer jar and some little notes, and that has been well used. People can write their prayers on a little piece of paper, pop it in the jar, and it goes into my morning prayer in the morning in the weeks after they've popped that in their jar. And it's just a good place to then have those conversations and to just open up and be open. There's nothing like a bit of fresh air in the open air to have open conversations with people.
Have you found people coming in sort of saying, I just want a coffee, I just want to chat, and then once they've relaxed a bit, once they found a friendly space, opening up a bit more?
Yes, yeah, in a word, yeah, that has happened. I can't go into more about those conversations, I'm afraid, but it has happened, needless to say, and that's really positive because those same people may well not have come into our church buildings. Beautiful though they are, they don't generate the same response as being where people are at. So yeah, we've had good conversations, and something else that's really lovely is that we've had sort of returning customers. There's now a few people that regularly come. They come for their coffee. They know we're there. They come along, and then they will then chat with other people. I don't know if they see each other much in between Friday to Friday, but they recognise each other and they'll have a chat. There's one lovely little girl that comes to see us. She often wears a little princess outfit. She's a lovely young lady. She's not at school just yet. And the biscuit decorating we have is ever so simple. It's just some gloopy sugar and just sugar and water, and they can put it on a biscuit and cover it with a load of sprinkles. So it's a sugar overload. And the other week she came with her grandmother, and the grandmother looked a bit puzzled and sort of said, "What's this going on?" She's been going on about the yellow tent. Our tent is yellow. And apparently this little girl has said, please, on a Friday, she says, "Is it yellow tent day? Can we go to the yellow tent?" Which is just lovely. So she comes along for that, and she looks forward to it. And then we can have a chat with mum or dad or grandmother while she's there. And that's really nice.
So if anyone wants to find out more, Kirsty, what should they do?
About God's Tent in the Market Church in particular, I would say look me up, give me a call. I'm Revd Kirsty Emerson, and you can find my details. It'll be on Facebook or online somewhere.
And
But go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say you'll be there this Friday.
And I'll be there this Friday. Yeah, definitely this coming Friday. With them most Fridays. Sometimes if I've got a wedding on or if I'm on holiday, then I'm not there. But yeah, generally I'll be there this Friday, so they could come along and give us a look as well.
Revd Kirsty Emerson, Pioneer Team Vicar in the Harwich Team Ministry. Thank you very much for joining us on BBC Essex this morning. So, Kirsty and the team are at Dovercourt Street Market every single Friday, as she said, unless there's a wedding. But they're there setting up from about 8 o'clock, and the yellow tent is open to everyone.